Sipp where the blues play. Good food and open spaces, we living like kings. Friendly faces, affordable land, and success in our hands. Welcome to the Sipp, where the South say.
I hope you enjoy this video. To learn more about Sipp culture, please subscribe to my channel. God bless and enjoy. In the sharecropping system, the planter, sharecropper, or tenant farmer was supposed to share the cotton crop. However, the landowners often robbed and cheated the sharecroppers. The landowners provided the farmers with land to grow cotton and an old shack to live in. In return, the sharecropper grew cotton on the land, and during the harvest, the landowner shared the cotton crop with the workers. The large plantations operated a store where the farmers bought all their needs from food, tools, cotton seeds, and fertilizer to grow the crop on credit from the landowner. When the cotton was sold, the landowner would pay the sharecropper his share of the harvest, minus what he owed the plantation store, which was owned and operated by the landowner. This system of credit and debt kept the sharecroppers under the control of the landowners, often leading to them owing more than they earned and having to continue working the land for free for generations. Ida B. Wells. Barnett fought for racial justice and women's rights. The Holly Springs native attended Shaw University, known today as Rust College, before moving to Memphis to teach. Ida was arrested in 1884 for refusing to give up her seat on a railroad car. Ida sued and won the case, but the ruling was overturned on appeal. In 1892, 3 of her friends were lynched for running a grocery store that was more successful than a nearby white-owned store. Writing for the black newspaper, Free Speech and Headlight under the pen name Lola, Wells denounced the killings and called for a boycott of white businesses. The newspaper office was burned, and Ida was warned to leave town. She moved to New York, then Chicago, where she became a leading voice in the anti-lynching campaign and the women's suffrage movement. The Klan represented the most vicious side of Jim Crow. Klansmen recruited whites bitter over the war and opposed Northern federal interference in the South. During Reconstruction, they threatened black voters and sympathetic whites, but Union troops curbed their activities. When the troops left, the Klan became bolder, carrying out night rider attacks against black churches, teachers, and schools. In 1870, Congress passed the Enforcement Act, which allowed perpetrators to be tried in federal rather than local courts. But white juries consistently refused to render guilty verdicts against Klan members.
Everything is set up to prevent black people from registering to vote. They do it economically, they do it physically, and it's not just the Klan, it's everybody.
Fannie Lou Hamer's nationally televised testimony beamed her message into America's living rooms. In plain language, she talked of getting fired and thrown off a Delta plantation for trying to register to vote. She offered gritty details of her vicious beating by white Winona police. Hamer challenged party leaders to uphold America's commitment to equality under the law. With fellow congressional candidates Annie Devine and Victoria Gray, she would take the challenge to Washington, D.C. in January 1965. Until she died in 1977, she continued to speak for civil rights and advocate for poor people. On May 4, 1961, the Freedom Riders set out from Washington, D.C. on a Greyhound bus. The test was the brainchild of James Farmer and CORE, Congress of Racial Equality. Farmer recruited young people, black and white, to participate in an integrated bus ride from Washington to New Orleans. Along the way, they intended to integrate bus station waiting rooms, lunch counters, and public restrooms, testing enforcement of a Supreme Court decision outlawing segregation in interstate travel. They expected to provoke opposition that would compel the federal government to enforce the law. The violence of the opposition surprised even CORE. After a calm trip to Atlanta, they were mobbed and beaten, and their bus was firebombed in Alabama. Suddenly, the Freedom Rides were international news. To some, they were heroes. To others, communists and agitators. The Kennedy administration pressed Alabama leaders to protect the riders while urging them to end their journey. But the riders, reinforced by fresh volunteers, would not be deterred. As bad as Alabama had been, everyone worried about what would happen when they reached Mississippi.
The three missing civil rights workers left Meridian Sunday, telling associates they'd be back by 4 p.m.
It was as if everybody knew that they were dead. All of a sudden, the risk was real.
Ain't gonna let nobody take me back.
Despite the risk, the volunteers continue on to Mississippi.
Keep burning, walking, yeah, keep burning, talking, marching after freedom, yeah.
This concludes part 2 of my tour of the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum in Jackson, Mississippi. If you enjoyed this video and want to know more about the Sipp culture, please subscribe to my channel. I'm G. Lewis, and until my next video, God bless.